right now we are talking about someone in Nigeria's movie industry. He is a Nigerian filmmaker. He's a storyteller, he's story editor. He is a theater artist, broadcaster, newspaper columnist, magazine editor, and university lecturer, all in one. Please welcome with me this morning, Chris Ehidero. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Some people will be wondering, wait. I've only heard the name. I've not seen him before.
I like to hide behind the camera.
I thought I was the only one until I had to show in front of the camera. So how have you been?
I've been very well, thank you. How have you been? It's been a minute.
Yeah, more than a minute. Many people will not remember, will remember Fuji House of Commotion.
Yes.
But they will not remember the name Chris Ehidero. We need to do something about that.
So I have always enjoyed just letting the work speak for itself.
Okay.
Which is, you know, as a writer and as a director and as a producer, I am not front of screen. We sit back and let the celebrities and the stars do the actors and all of those do their thing. But, you know, time requires that I do what I'm doing now in front of the camera for what's about to happen.
Yes. And what is it about to happen? I mean, the world is not coming to an end.
No, none of that. I have been privileged in my career to have had a lot of firsts and to have done a lot of big projects in my writing and direct and producing career. Fuji House of Commotion, producing Nigeria's first feature animation film, Lady Bucket and the Motley Mobsters, producing 2 seasons of MTV Sugar, and all of that. But I am making a big film now, which is the biggest risk I've taken thus far in my career, and I'm enjoying the ride. And you know, all attention is on that now.
We'll come. I'm pretty sure we're still going to touch a little more on that later on. But you would have concerns about the movie industry, as some of us do. One of the major concerns for me, we'll talk about the other details, but one of the major concerns for me is the classification or a lack of it in our movies. People all over the world are excited about Nigerian films. Hardly do we have as good, have we gotten as good in the classification of our movies as we ought to have, wouldn't you say?
I'd say that the Nigerian Film and Video Census Board is doing a pretty good job. Dr. Shaibu Hussein is now in charge of that. And yes, in the past, we've had occasion to question some of how the classification has been done and what should be watched by who and where and all of that. But I think we're coming to a place now that is more stable, that is more focused, and that can classify, you know, as differently. The ultimate aim is not to censor, so to speak. It is to classify so that the viewers know exactly what the film they're about to see contains, and that's the job of a board like that. And I think it's. I mean, I'm encouraged by what I've seen thus far from Dr. Shaibu Husseini and all the people working to make all of these things better. Yes.
But what gives you the most concern?
I am generally not very worried as a person. I suppose that recently the alleged withdrawal of the streaming giants from Nollywood is what's given a lot of people concern. I have often argued otherwise. I have said publicly that I think that it's a re-strategy. It's more of a rethinking of strategy than a withdrawal. I insist that if you are going to talk about African or Black film traditions globally, there is no way Nollywood is going to miss out of that conversation. For all of its many alleged limitations, Nollywood is still the biggest conversations around black cinema globally, whether you like it or not. So for me, it's important that we retain that and understand what that means. And this is not to then say, therefore, that the world cannot do without Nollywood, but it's to say that the world is better off, with Nollywood in it.
Is it possible for the world to do without Nollywood?
No.
We couldn't do without Hollywood. We couldn't do without Bollywood.
Yeah,
They can't
so
do without
for me, it's I don't have fears. I know that all of this will come to a good place where, and we must, really be appreciative of what the streaming giants brought to the industry in about 6 years. They did more for the industry in 6 years than many have done in the decades the industry has existed. Let's not say that the situation at hand then means that we dismiss the work that they did. They allowed for many of our producers to make productions at a certain level. They provided funding that allowed for, an attempt for us to show what we are exactly capable of. They allowed for infrastructure development in the sector. So a lot of that has had to do with what they brought. Now, whether it was enough, whether it should be all of it, is a different conversation. But we can admit that this was worthy, and that I think there will be a continuum. I think that whatever strategy they come up with next, if we took it, and we also on our part must then ask ourselves, did we make the best use?
Is that our part that I want you to speak to? And I know that being a movie maker, you may not want to yab your people, but you have to. Because I have heard, and I think it was, is it Basket Mouth or Bovie that was, letting it out in public, that some, producers will get this funding and spend maybe 1/5 or less on the production. That would, if I were these streamers, I would re-strategize too. Wouldn't you?
I think that when people speak on behalf of an industry, they need to be careful. I think that when you are a producer and you want to talk about the works of your colleagues, I think you should come from a place of care. And this is why. If you accuse anyone of anything without evidence, what you're saying is that you have done better, but there's also no proof of that, right? Anyone that said anything did not exactly show us his or our own budget and payments and plans and all of that. I think that if you said, for instance, someone gave someone $2 million to make a film, and then the person actually spent $400,000 to make the film and did whatever with $1,600,000, right? Then you look at the film and then you ask yourself, are you truly a producer if you thought that this was produced at 1/5 of the budget?
Are you telling me that this never happens?
I try to speak from a place of fact and evidence. If I do not have fact or evidence, opinions are free, facts are sacred. In my background in journalism, that's how I was trained. I can therefore not speak of that which I have no evidence.
You know that I'm a journalist too.
Of course I
can put you in trouble.
No, I think that because I think people say a lot about Nollywood without having real, concrete, evidence-based, that you can prove. And it's important for us to speak like this because, okay, so I'll go to conferences abroad and I'm speaking with this platform from Europe, or I'm speaking with this whatever from the US, and they're saying, oh, we hear, and I'm like, where did you hear that? This is not to say that those things are impossible.
Okay.
I am saying that if that is why you think the streaming platforms are re-strategizing, then you do not know the industry enough. At the end of the day, it's a business. The streaming platforms have got to ask themselves, these investments we are making in this industry, do we have enough subscribers from this industry, or from this country, or from this region? If we don't, do we have other outtakes that makes this investment reasonable? If we don't, do we get enough eyeballs, and are we in enough conversations to make this investment worthy? Those are the questions. Those are bigger questions than whatever any producer did or did not do. And so I find those conversations limiting. whether they are true or otherwise, I find them limiting. There are bigger conversations about the industry, about what we could be doing differently, about what we have done with the opportunities we have had, and otherwise.
And what are these bigger issues for you?
I think that the bigger issues, my biggest issue, my biggest challenge is our tendency to be monofocused at every time. I mean, you know this. At some point, if you wanted to distribute your film in Nollywood, you go to Alaba and then Ibn Pejole, Pound Road, in Aba. We know how those adverts ran in those days. And we moved from that to a system where if Africa Magic did not take your film, you had nowhere else to sell it. Then rock came on board. Then the cinemas came, right? And then the streaming giants came. And now that they are re-strategizing, the cinemas again look like the focal point. And every time it looks like we face one direction. And for an industry whose potential audience is 1.2 billion people globally, we have never really succeeded at selling to 10% of that number. There's been no time where we have been able to feed our addressable market. So you can't reach. So if you take Nigeria, you take the black diaspora, you take the African diaspora, you take parts of Asia, you take, all these places around the world. At no time have we sorted out how we got to them where we could faithfully say we can reach 10%, 120 million people at one time. So I'd like to see what we're doing about how we're doing streaming, we're doing VOD, SVODs, we're doing cinema, we are doing all at the same time. Not that we go to one when one doesn't seem to pass. Today, everybody says YouTube is the path. I'm making a film. I've come from set right now. After this interview, I'm going back on set, right? And that, unless YouTube cuts me a really large check, that film is not made for that platform, right? So we can't say now, oh, Nollywood's focus is now YouTube. Everybody's making. No, Funke Akindele was on YouTube a decade ago, right? People have been on YouTube. Uduaki Song has had a channel forever. So we need to have that. We need to have cinema. We need to have streaming. We need to have everything at the same time. That, for me, is the real conversation.
Okay. We're running out of time, but I want us to talk about your film. What's it about?
So I have always been interested in two aspects of life. The savior and those that are willing to be saved. And I've always wondered which comes first. Do we wait for the savior? Do we save ourselves? So think of this guy, this Robin Hood wannabe in a Lagos urban ghetto who robs the rich to feed the poor in his environment and fights all the people that collect local taxes and all of that. But who is he? What is he running from? What is his own truth? Why is he hiding? How come nobody knows his name? How come he doesn't carry a phone? What kind of person is this? I'm trying to interrogate what it means to love in a time of war, what it means to be fascinated by a woman who might potentially be your killer. What it means to love a place, to love a community, to love a society beyond your own personal desires, what it means to be faithful to your country, to your community at your personal risk. And it's been 10 years in the making. I wrote the first draft of the screenplay during the lockdown. I've had the story for 5 years, around 5 years at that time. But funding and all of it has taken so long, and I'm eternally grateful for to my funding partners, my marketing partners, everyone that has come on board to make this film happen. It's the it's the biggest thing that I've ever done, and I'm lucky. I have done pretty big things in my career thus far, and this one looks like it's going to be massive.
Well, it sounds like you've written the trailer, you've written the promo, you've written everything else, but you've told us nothing at the end of the day. Just like the journalist that you are, you just don't want us to know what's happening.
Let's just say that I'm in very familiar company, so you're not very easy to trick, are you? But yeah, it's very. I feel like that place in your career where you get to do that thing you've always wanted to do, and you're only getting to do it because some people looked and said, you know what, if we are going to ever back anyone, you know, MBO Capital, all the guys, if we're going to ever back anyone, this is the guy we should back for a project this big. You know, I'm eternally grateful for that.
So if you were to categorize it, would it be an action movie?
I call it's a thriller that is sitting on a bed of drama. So we tend to, when we go into the ghettos, we tend to think of violence because that's how we see them as outsiders. But they have personal lives, they have hopes and dreams like the rest of us. They fall in love, they fall out of love, you know, they get heartbroken. And, you know, they deal with everything we deal with as humans on a daily basis. Therefore, I want to humanize them beyond and above what we are used to when we go there to tell the story. We tell stories of strife as if that's all of their life, but it is outsiders looking in that see those strifes. I'm shooting in an area in Lagos where we are 3 minutes away from Western Avenue. Is this still called Western Avenue?
No, Funshaw
Funshaw Williams Avenue. You know, we are 3 minutes away from it. But when you walk in beyond all the buildings you see off Funshaw Williams Avenue, I'm shooting in an area and you think you are in 1970s Lagos.
Whoa.
Yes. I'm jumping gutters, water puddles. You can see open septic tanks. And I'm like, we don't tell these stories this way. And in those kind of places, how can the people there be full humans? How can we look at their daily struggles and then say, well, all that is present, but look, they love, they hope, they dream, you know?
They aspire.
They aspire. They want to, they are looking at Third Mainland Bridge and VI right above, right? It's a place of dream. You get, it's a place of aspiration. They want to go there. They don't have the opportunities, right? And then what do we then do about what they become? If they become armed robbers, we blame them. If they rob us in traffic, we blame them. But we forget that if we just turned around and looked at them and where they are, have we really done enough to, even if we leave them there, make sure they have a great life? And that's what I'm questioning.
Well, so many things to bring out from that already. What's the title? Does it have a title already? Or you want to keep it in the pocket?
Let's say that I have a couple of people watching who threaten me on a daily basis. And they say that until their strategy is ready, I must not mention the name.
I give up. I give up. I give up. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun. It's great to be here again.
Truly appreciate your time here. And we can only, you know, hope and dream. And when it's ready, when they finally release the name,
I'll be back. I'll be back to talk about it.
Okay, and possibly even maybe with one or two of the actors from time to time.
Surely.
You know,
surely.
To see what we can also do to assist. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Truly appreciate your time, Chris Hidero.
Thank you.